Hello coin collectors out there. Welcome back to the Big D Coins channel. Today's video is going to be about the 1969 Jefferson Nickel. So I came across this one right here while coin roll hunting. As you can see, it's got a very small mint mark on it. The D mint mark right there is much smaller than the 1985 D and 1986 S that I've got right here for comparison. So just look how much smaller that one is. So that got my mind thinking and researching about the 1969 Denver Mint Jefferson Nickel. And before we get into the coin itself, I want to share my thoughts on this book right here, which is known as the Red Book. This is United States Coins 2018 71st edition, known as the Red Book, obviously, because of its color. It's got all of the prices for coins in it. What I found most interesting so far is the commemorative section. So these are the commemorative section right here. So these are a bunch of coins that I hadn't really seen before, so they really piqued my interest. And I found the commemorative section to be most interesting. What I haven't found too helpful so far is that this book doesn't really go into different designations that a particular coin can have. For instance, I wanted to find the price of the 1969 Denver Mint full steps, and all we've got here is the 1969 DMS 63, 65, and PF 65 designations. So as you can see, MS 65 for the 1969 Denver Mint is worth $4. That's no home run by any means, but the key for the 1969 Denver Mint is the full steps designation. Now that will have its own different kind of title, different grading to it than the regular mint state in the PF state right there. PF being the proof. So I went online, pcgs.com/prices, price guide detailed, and they have a much better detailed list of the different designations. So you can look up the different designations like RD for red or FS for full steps for these nickels. And that gives you a lot more information than you'll find here in the Red Book. I guess the Red Book could be helpful for you if you're just, maybe you take the bus to work or the train to work or something, and you just want to kind of flip through something and look at the pictures and look at the prices, kind of like you would a magazine. I can see how that would be enjoyable, and I might use it for that purposes. But for most of my research, I'll probably still be online, although the prices, on some other websites other than PCGS aren't as authentic. They still are pretty reliable, and they have the different designations, so I'll stick with that. They also have different errors in books like the Cherry Picker's Guide, which is a much bigger physical book, but it's got a lot more detail and a lot of the cool errors that I haven't seen in this book so far. All right, so let's get into this 1969D. So I made a video about a week ago about how the 1964D was not valuable. The main premise of that video was that there were 1.7 billion 1964 Denver Mint coins produced. Now, 1969, there were still a lot produced, but nowhere near as much as 1964D. Kind of the whole 1960s era, there were just a lot of nickels produced, and they weren't particularly high quality, as you'll kind of see in the different gradings that we talk about. The issue primarily was that the mint didn't really take great care of their dies. They were producing so many, they were just wearing out all the dies and not replacing them timely enough to get real high quality coins. That's most notable with the full steps kind of designation that we're talking about. So when you flip it over on the reverse right here, the full steps designation means that it has at least five steps going across the stairs right there to Monticello. So this is Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello. And then the actual design of this coin, which you can see with more modern proof coins that have been taken care of, you can see actual steps going across right here on Monticello, actual lines to depict the steps. That means it is the full steps designation. And you need to see at least 5 of those to get that FS designation. However, there were not many produced. Fraction of a percent of them actually get that full steps designation. but if they do, they are quite valuable. And the other issue that I was researching today that I thought I'd share with you was the usage of hand mint marks. So according to what I found online is that the mint marks were still being punched by hand at this point. So I found that to be quite interesting. The source I found on a coin collecting forum said that 1989 was the last year that hand-punched mint marks were still used on U.S. coins, and I found that absolutely fascinating. So when millions and billions of these coins were being produced, they were still being stamped, possibly with the mint marks stamp by hand. So I found that to be very interesting. If people can confirm or deny that or provide some better sources about those hand mint marks, you can feel free to let me know and correct me if I'm wrong, or confirm that I'm right. But as you can see, the mint mark kind of shifts around. I'm not sure exactly why the 1969 D has a small mint mark to it. You guys might have remembered in another video that I made about the 1968 nickel. The 1968 was the first year that they moved the mint mark to the obverse of the coin. So a couple of key important years in regards to that. Mint marks were temporarily suspended from 65 until 67. That's because coin collecting was going absolutely crazy, and the mint for some reason thought that if they didn't put mint marks on the coins, then they'd be less collectible, and people would put them back into circulation, and the mint could actually wouldn't have to produce billions of them because people would actually circulate them. So that happened from 65 to 67. Prior to that, the mint mark was on the reverse, right to the right of the building. So that's where the mint mark would be, right there. On the pre-1964 and earlier, that's where you'll find the mint mark, right to the right of the building. Of course, the wartime nickels, which were made from 42 to 45, they'll have a very large mint mark right at the top there, P, D, or S right at the top. And those ones are the silver ones, so those are worth a little bit extra cash. Now let me tell you about the price of the 1969 Denver Mint full steps. So this is the big winner as far as the price goes for 1960s, from what I can see. So 1969 DFS 65. Now it's mint state 65 isn't anything out of this world. The mint state designations go all the way up to 69 into 70. So a 65 is something that might still have a bag scratch or two on it, but it's something that we could still find. So that's what I'm trying to get across there as far as the price for a mint state 65. So price for the mint state 65 on the PCGS price guide for 1969 Denver Mint is $15,000. So that's going to be in the title of this video because that's kind of the big hook, the big catch, the big price. So keep your eye out for that 1969 Denver Mint full steps. Like all the other Jefferson nickels, you're going to want to look for full steps, very important. All right, feel free to give me any feedback on that hand-punched mint mark idea that I floated out there. And also feel free to give me any feedback on using this book right here, the red book with 464 full-colored pages, compared to just researching online, whichever you find more helpful and more reliable. All right, everyone, thank you. Best of luck coin collecting. Enjoy.